Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my channel, Philosmos, where everything philosophical is discussed. Right now, my country, it's actually quite early. It's like 15 minutes or 10 minutes to 6 o'clock. And I just decided to do a video. So this one is titled, Don't Get Caught Up in the Story of Your Life. Okay, so this is something that I've actually observed within myself. And I've also noticed within other people. It's this tendency to impose narrations or stories pertaining to events and circumstances that have transpired within our lives. Okay, and the reason why we tell stories is basically the whole purpose behind storytelling is to convey a message, is to convey meaning, or to convey a particular feeling. So that is why we tell stories. But now I want to give you a different perspective in the whole uh, events, like the whole activity, of storytelling that we may not necessarily see. So a story is always an account of something that happened or occurred in the past. Okay. A story is always something that happened in the past. It's not happening now. A story cannot be formed by what is happening now because in order to have a story, you must first capture what is occurring right now and then impose ideas, pre existing ideas and pre existing beliefs, or even if they're not pre existing, but you're working from a template that basically has its foundations in the past. You're working from a template of, let's just say, you're telling a story about, let's just say, you were going to work and you came across a colleague and you're having a discussion and you're telling somebody this story, right? So if you're telling them that story, then a lot of portions to that story um, contain elements that have pre-existing beliefs and pre-existing ideas that are attached to it. That's the natural occurrence or consequence of telling a story, is that you're recollecting something that happened in the past. So if it is something in the past, then it has no grounds in the present. And if it has no grounds in the present, then it is not ultimate reality. Reality unfolds in the present moment. And the past and the future fluctuate and spontaneously, like, how can I say it? Like, they mingle with the present moment, but they never exist as isolated moments that are disconnected from this present moment. It's all one continuous moment that appears to be broken up into pieces. So when we're talking about the past, what we're actually doing is communicating something in the present. Okay. So what I want you to understand is that every story we tell ourselves, and this is true to most people, the stories we tell ourselves are negative. We tell ourselves stories that do not benefit us and necessarily don't benefit other people around us. So maybe the story that I tell myself is that I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough skills, or I don't have enough time, or because this particular thing happened to me in the past, I don't have the capacity to do the things that I need to do right now. All these things that could possibly happen, I mean, all these things that could possibly be said within your mind, right, are stories. Every single thought that you have about the past is a story. It's a particular angle to which you viewed that circumstance or event, and then processed it from that angle, and then created a story out of that. So if you had to get that thing at its root, it's all based on the angle to which you view the events and circumstances that occur in your life. So the past is recreated in the present. So you can recreate any story that you want about yourself and about your life. But it all takes you to not get so involved in your story that you're playing right now in your mind. Don't get involved in that. Don't get involved in the narration that your mind offers. Because once you get involved in that, then you see no other way to view that circumstance. And that becomes your story. And when it becomes a story of you, it becomes like an experience for you as well, even though it was fabricated in the mind, even though the mind is incorrect in telling that story, because the stories that we tell from the past, firstly, are not always accurate. Okay, we don't recall information accurately. We're always making errors in our perceptions. So when we tell stories, we must realize that the stories that we're telling are like there's a major part of it that contains a base of illusions, that things that didn't really happen, but you're conveying as if it did. I'm talking about stories that are real, stories that feel real to us, the stories that we tell ourselves every single day, or that we tell other people as well every single day. These stories that we tell feel very real to us. But in essence, what I'm trying to point you to is that they are based on illusions. They're based on how your mind viewed, the angle to which your mind viewed that circumstance, and then interpreted and extracted the relevant information pertaining to the angle that you assumed. So at every given moment, you can change the story of your life. At every given moment, you can access your imagination and play out your past differently than how it actually occurred, how you assumed or how you interpreted it to have occurred, if that makes sense. Because how we recollect the past is also based on how we feel right now. So how I feel right now, my state of consciousness, will affect what I extract, the information that I extract from the past, which then will influence and change the story that I tell. So if you assume a state that is beneficial for you, state of happiness or state of power, then when you go back to the past, there's a higher chance that you're going to recollect information that makes you feel more powerful. But if you have nothing to recollect that makes you feel powerful, then recreate the past the way you desire it. And that seems like mania. That seems like a form of psychosis. Like, why on earth would I change the story of the past to suit me right now? Should I not just accept the past for how it happened and accept that the past is the past? Yes, that is true. Accept what happened. But realize that what happened is based on a story that you told yourself about that event. So if you get the event at its core, it's all here. It's all a mental process. It's all a mental idea of what you perceived at that particular moment. So right now, you can choose to perceive differently. And you can choose to perceive that event in a different way, thus telling a different story. And a story that uplifts you, a story that uh, places you and others at the highest position possible. And I say others as well because I did state in a lot of my videos that there's no such thing as like separation. So when you're telling negative stories about other people, it's coming out of your mouth. You're putting yourself in that state. So you're actually telling that story about you. It's coming from your being. It's not coming from their being, it's coming from you. So you are experiencing that story. So that becomes your story about them, but it's still your story. So pay attention to the stories. Pay attention to the narrations that are going on within your mind, because then that ultimately becomes your experience. And at any given moment, right here in this present moment, this moment right now, you have access to infinite stories that you can assume that can work for you. Okay. So thank you very much, guys, for listening to this video. Please like, guys. Please share this material if you think it's good. And please subscribe if you'd love more of this. And to end it off, as I always end it off, for those who seek, seek no more, for in the present we find it all. Thank you very much, guys.